Hello, crafty friends. I'm Doreen DeCivas from It Begins with Ink and Paper, and welcome to Simply Stamping Sunday. So glad you're able to join me tonight. I'm just getting my phone ready so I can make sure everything is the way it should be so that you can see everything I'm going to be doing tonight. So I hope everyone had a great weekend. It was certainly beautiful where we were, so that made it nice. We haven't had a lot of sun on the weekends, and it actually started out rainy in the morning, but then it quickly turned into a beautiful day. So on yesterday and today was a gorgeous day to drive home. So we are at week 4 with Pretty Florals, and that means we are going to be doing some fun folds. So let me put the set aside and we'll get started. So our first fun fold that we're going to do tonight is a side step fold. So this is what the card looks like. And it does open up where you can write a message inside. We can put more paper in here, but if you're going to do that, you want to write first because it won't fold flat after that. But it will stand just like that. And you could also put paper on the back if you needed to write a lot. Hi, Roz. Oh, my goodness. I hope that you don't lose power either with that nasty thunderstorm you're having. Okay, so let's get started with this card. So I'm using Petunia Pop, and I'll show you all the measurements in just a minute. So for Petunia Pop, you're going to need a piece that measures 8 inches by 5.5 inches, and I scored it at 1 inch, 2 inch, and 5 inches. And then you need a piece that measures 3 by 6, and you're going to score this at 1 3/4, and you're going to need a 1/2 inch scrap. And then for the designer series paper, you're going to need a piece of basic white and designer series paper that are the same size, and it measures 5 1/4 by 2 3/4. And this is the one designer series paper that I haven't used with you yet, so I'm glad to pull out some new colors and use the last one from that package. And then you're going to need a piece that measures 3/4 of an inch by 5 1/4. And then you need a scrap for your sentiment. So let's do our stamping first, and then we'll do all of our folding. So, oops, let's get the right piece of paper, the one I didn't show you yet. And then we need a piece that we're going to be stamping on. It measures 2 3/4 inches by 4 inches. And let me get the sentiment piece. All right, these are the two that we're going to be stamping. So I'm using the sentiment from the Perfectly Pairs set that I used Friday night in Fun Fold Friday. And I'm going to be using the Petunia Pop ink. So this says, a good friend is a gift. I just really like that sentiment. I have a lot of friends who I could say that of. So I'm going to stamp this near one end, and then I'm going to trim the rest off. Let me just make sure that's straight. And stamp. And then I'm just going to take my snips, and I'm going to just trim it right here. There we go. And then I'm just going to put a little bit of adhesive right down the middle. This is something that I often do with my paper scraps. And then I'm just going to put this on like that and snip it off, and I have a whole bunch more left that I can be using. And let's make sure that's straight. So there's my label, and I'm going to be putting my label on dimensionals, so we'll just get all of this set to go. And we'll put that aside for when we're ready to put the card together. All right, so I'm going to close this. We're going to use it again, but I want to make sure that I have plenty of room. I'm just going to grab a scrap piece of paper to stamp off on. Okay, so I'm going to take my garden green, because this is the green that matches in that piece of designer series paper, and I'm going to stamp my stem, and I'm going to just put this about just a little lower than the middle. So it's going to go right about here. I put that a little too high. Let me see. It'll still be okay. I put it higher than I wanted it, but it will still work. If it doesn't, we'll just turn it over. And I'm going to take my stamp for the background, stamp off, because that's, as you can see, is pretty dark. And then I'm going to stamp what's left right on, and I get a really pretty purplish pink there. And then I'm going to take the two-step piece and stamp right over it. And I just love how this set works. I think I've shown you that before. Two-step stamping it just does nice things. Okay, so we're going to close that ink up, and now we're going to start putting our card together. So I'm going to set these two pieces aside, and now I am going to use my bone folder to really give it a good burnishing and a really nice crease. Anytime you are using a bun fold, you really want to make sure it has a nice crease. So that's all that there is to it, to making the step part of the fold. Now, as I said, if I wanted to write a longer letter or a longer message, I could put another piece of cardstock up here. It would be exactly the same size. I'm not for today, but if you want to write on it, you want to do this now, or write on the paper and then attach it, because once it's put together, it won't go flat like this. All right, so I'm going to take some of my Stamp and Seal, and we'll just put a little bit on the background. And that will go like that. Then on the front, we're going to start with our larger piece of designer series paper. And that is going to go in this opening here. Let's just make sure. There we go. And then this smaller piece is going to go on the front. So overall, this is a really easy card to put together. There we go. Now for this part here, we're going to just fold it at that score mark. Put the card out of the way. burnish this really well. And this is going to go, we're going to be attaching it here and here at the top. And so what I'm going to do, because this has a big job in keeping the card together, I'm going to use my tear and tape. This is my go-to adhesive when I want to make sure the card is going to stay together really nicely. And I'm going to put just a little extra on this piece that goes to the top. The secret to the tear and tape, if you want to be able to tear it off easily, is to burnish it. And then it will come off nicely. So this piece I'm just going to put right on the front with the Stampin' Seal before I attach it. And now I can take this off. So I spent most of the day in the car coming home from northern New York. My nephew had a great little birthday party, and we actually took he and his parents out this morning for breakfast at our hotel before we left. Well, it was actually brunch. It was pretty late. It was when we met them. So I'm going to line this right up. So I'm just going to open this up right now. I'm going to line this up. You can place it wherever you want. I want some of that designer series paper to show. And then I'm going to close it and attach it there. Okay, and that's what our card looks like before we add our greeting. It will fit in a regular envelope. And I'm just going to put this up a little higher than I did on my original. And there is our first fun fold for the evening. Nice and simple. Okay. Excuse me. I'm going to put that aside. The next two I really love. So here's the next card we're going to make. I'm getting It's Your Day from the Cone Flower Celebration set, because I just thought it was perfect for this. And this just isn't a simple fun fold. It opens there, and then it opens here, like that. So we're going to be using a couple of different kinds of designer series paper. So you are going to need a piece of 4 1/4 by 11 Strawberry Slush cardstock, and we're going to be scoring it and cutting it. And then I'm going to use the fabulous Darling Duckling paper. It measures 3 1/4 by 10, and we're going to be scoring this at 5 inches, right in half. For designer series paper, we're using the back side of my favorite design, but it's the Strawberry Slush design, and it measures 4 by 5 1/4. I don't have a cheat sheet tonight, so. Then this comes from, this is the new 2025 to 2027 in color designer series paper, and this is one of the designs from it. It's the Darling Duckling, and it measures 3 by 4 3/4. The paper for the inside measures the same, 3 by 4 3/4. This piece of white measures 2 1/2 by 4, and our designer series paper measures 4 inches by 2 1/2 as well. And then I just have a couple of scraps of paper that we'll be using. So let's get this started. Okay, so I need to score and cut both of these. I usually do all of that ahead of time, but I wanted to show you how we got our paper. So I am going to be scoring this at 5.5 inches, which is the normal, for this size card, it's the normal part. But what we're going to be doing to create this flap right here, we are going to be cutting this piece off. So to show you what my measurements are, I know I have a little ruler here somewhere. Let me grab one. It measures 2 3/4, which is half of 5.5. So I'm going to take the front of my card. It doesn't matter which side I do, and I'm going to cut this at 2 3/4 of an inch. And so now I have my card front, and I have the piece for the front. And then this piece I need to score at 5 inches, which is just the center point of it, so that it can fold as well. Alright, so let's get this card made. I'm going to start by burnishing my Duckling paper and the piece of designer series paper is going to go right on front of it. There we go. And then we are going to be putting the same size piece right inside, and I'm going to use this little piece to just decorate it. So let's see, I want to make sure that little yellow flower gets in so it matches what we're doing a little bit. But we're going to get some of the strawberry slush and all of those other different colors in. I always cut this a little bit longer so I can line it up as I want it to be. So wow, we have a lot of people joining on tonight. So hi Lynn, hi Barbara, hi Priscilla. Thanks for joining me tonight on this really pretty day. And this will just go on the inside. Okay, that piece is all done. So now let's get the front of the card all decorated. Now part of this suite is the Sweet Bloom set. And it has a great stamp in it that I use to make some backgrounds. And I'm actually, in one of the cards, going to use the hello from here. But I'm going to take that stamp out because I told you I had that little scrap of the strawberry slush. And I'm going to take some strawberry slush ink. Put this on a block. Let's see, well, we'll just use a big block. And I'm going to grab that scrap paper again so I don't make a mess on my glass mat. And I'm going to take this and I'm just going to kind of make my own designer series paper. Usually so there we go. That's what it looks like when it's all said and done. We'll set that aside. We'll need this ink in a little bit. So for this piece, I'm going to again fold it right on my score mark, give it a nice burnish, and this piece, the Strawberry Slush Designer Series paper, is going to go in first. So we'll just add a little adhesive to that. Then this piece of Designer Series paper is going to go right at the top. Just bringing out all of the yellows from the Darling duck and the strawberry slush from the paper. It's just so pretty. Hi Elaine, thanks for joining. And now this can go inside the card. I just want to center it. So I'm going to open this up and we're just going to center it from side to side, top to bottom, and that's going to close over. And then we'll put this piece on last because we'll want this to center on top of the yellow piece. So let's do some stamping. And I am going to be using the same, not the same stamps, but the same stem. So I'm just going to clean that off so we don't have that garden green ink showing through. I just have a paper towel that I've put some water on, and we're going to use, again, I'm going by the green that it's going to match in the paper, and it has some of that Granny Apple green. And actually first I'm going to stamp my greeting because I want to make sure I don't stamp too far up, and that way if I stamp it first I'll make sure everything's below it. So this is It's Your Day from the Coneflower Celebration Set, and I'm going to stamp that at the top where it's centered. There we go. Love this stamp because it's just such a bright greeting. So that's what really pulled me to it. And so I'm going to have this be just a tad lower. And now I can stamp my flowers. So I'll get that scrap piece of paper out again. And I am using these smaller flowers than what I used last time. So we're going to stamp the strawberry slush off first, and then we're going to stamp the second generation right on, which makes it a beautiful pink. I just love it. And then I'm going to take the outline and stamp right over that. There we go. And then that little piece of paper that I stamped, I'm going to be using that as my Designer Series paper to put at the bottom of this. And I'm going to put it so it's like it's growing right out of it. There we go. Take my snips and trim that. Like I said before, I always make it a little extra. That way I know it's never going to be too short. And then this is just going to get some Stamp and Seal on the back of it, and it's going to go on that piece of strawberry slush paper. And again, I'm going to use some tear and tape because I just want to make sure it's going, since that's the part that's going to be lifted, that it's held on really tight. Just make sure I'm working at the top. And I'll just add probably 3 strips. There we go. Burnish it down so I can take it off without having to use any tools. So I'm so excited because Monday starts my first full week of being on vacation. And boy, there's nothing better than that sound. So before I press that top center down, I'm going to make sure that is centered nicely. And there's our second fun fold for this week. Okay, I'm going to set that one aside. And now let's go to our last one. So this is what our last card looks like. It is a staggered gatefold card, and I put a belly band around it just because I wasn't very, I don't like my cards to kind of stand up, and then it opens up like this. So let's talk about how we made this. So you are going to need a piece of, in this case I'm using the Secret C, and it measures 5 3/4. Now I did this by someone else's measurements. I would slash a quarter right off so it fits in the envelope nicely, but I'm going to follow the directions tonight and then change it later. So it measures 8 inches by 5 3/4, and I scored at 1 inch and 5 inches. So let's just burnish those edges. So it's going to close like this, like a gatefold closes, but it is going to have, it's just staggered on where I put that. So our piece of basic white that's going to go on the inside measures 3 3/4 by 5 1/2, and then I have a scrap of paper, let me find it, that I'm just going to put across the bottom. So let me do that first before I add it to the inside of the card. So I usually never finish using a package of designer series paper, but I have been using this paper so much that I actually ordered another package. So because I'm down to scraps, I don't even have a full sheet left. Well, let's see if I can get this on straight. So here's a prime example of why I don't like cutting it right to the size, but because I was running out of paper, I didn't have a long enough strip. Okay, so there's the inside of our card. So let's just attach that. There we go. And I have a piece of designer series paper 2, one for each piece. So this one measures 2 3/4 by 5 1/2. So let's put this side on first. And then to match some of the strawberry slush we have in this paper, I just took a piece of the strawberry slush pattern. It measures 3/4 by 5.5, and we'll just add some adhesive, and it's going to go on this little panel, and I'm just going to try to line the top and the bottom up. So there's the front of our card. So that's basically our card. So now I am going to, I have a 2¼ inch square and a 2½ inch square that I'm going to be using, and I'm going to stamp it on the diamond. So let me get out my greens. So I'm going to use Granny Apple Green again for the stem, and I'm using the same stem again. And I'm going to go as far to the bottom as I can. There we go. And then I'm going to be using the same flowers I just used. I'm going to clean those off a bit to get the... And as I've said before, Stampin' Up! Let us buy the cloud cover, knowing that it is not going to be a perfect formulation. And I'm okay with that because I'm going to be covering it up with the Secret Sky ink. So I'm going to put it down full, take out my Secret Sky ink, and I am going to use the center of the flower, and we're going to stamp that right over. This is one of the easiest two-step stamping sets that I have ever used. So easy to line everything up. And then, oops, I'm going to keep that ink out, and I'm using that little tiny hello that I showed you from the, which set is it called? The, I just had it. Oh, from the Sweet Blooms. And I am going to put that as close to the edge as I can. So there we go. We have that. And then this is going to go on to that piece of Secret Sky. And we'll get back to this. So to make a belly band, I want to take a piece of my Secret Sky ink, and I'm just going to cut an inch off. That is my usual go-to size for a belly band. So there we go. And what I do, I don't do any special measurements. I just put this on the card, and I kind of gently fold this over. So that the two sides match. I'm going to cut a little bit of this off because I want this to go right in the center. It's going to be covered up. I do like to burnish my edges once I have that little fold. And now I can just attach this. So I'm just going to make sure I'm putting it on straight. There we go, and that's pretty much in the middle. So again, because this is going to be, we want this to stay together. I'm just going to put a little bit of tear and tape. And just burnish that down. And peel it off. And I'm going to just make sure that it's going to line up perfectly. There we go. And I like to put mine on pretty, but you can see it moves fine, so that's all that I have to worry about. Now I am going to be putting a piece of tear and tape, because I'm not going to be taping this whole thing down. I am going to just go right across that diagonal. I should have looked first to make sure I was going the right way. I am, but that was just luck. And I'm going to take this off. So that's how easy it is to make a belly band. And I love belly bands because it's like you're saying, well, my hello's going to be a little crooked. That's okay. So I want it to go straight across. And that's our card for tonight, for the third one. And it comes off easily and comes back on very easily. So, there we go. So the first card we made tonight was the side stepper card, the second card, and our third card. And that completes our month. I can't believe that June is over tomorrow. It went by so quickly. And we're off to July on Tuesday. So I haven't decided what I'm going to do next month. So next month is going to be a total surprise. But I will be sharing another great set with you for the month of July. And I can't wait to share that with you. So I'll be back Friday night for another edition of Fun Fold Friday. And of course, I will be back next Sunday night with a new month of Simply Stamping Sunday. Have a great week, everyone. Good night.